and to entice you with enough information that you see that they are a very credible, very dominant individual, and that you're willing to get out of your chair at the end of the talk and go back and plunk up how much ever money it is so you can buy their CD, buy their manual, get coaching time with them, whatever it is. And it's really important that in the whole process that you have confidence in you, because nobody is youer than you.
Dr. Seuss quoted.
Dr. Seuss. Love Dr. Seuss.
And yes, I read a lot of Dr. Seuss books. I love Dr. Seuss, and I'm always, when I find one of his quotes out of his books, I write them down. And when we were preparing for our show today, I came, why Dr. Seuss says, why fit in when you're born to stand out?
Ooh. Really like
so
that.
Why fit in when you're born to stand out? Isn't that what we're all wanting to do when we're marketing on social media, is to stand out so people pay attention to us and people take notice? But there's a certain way to do it. You don't want to just put out, buy me, buy me, buy me. You want to really provide valuable information so that people look at you as, one, credible, knowledgeable, and yes, that's how you become influential, because they can trust what the message is that you're putting out there. And I believe blogs probably was the first social, the first interactive communications tool that was out there for those thought leaders, that they started blogging. And that was many years ago, before all these social networks really took hold.
Before websites really became websites back in 98 when we started, it was all hand-coded. And blogs were before that on putting all that out there. Yeah.
And then, and as more people understood the value of a blog, they started creating blogs, and they started putting it's just an online diary. That's how a blog started, was just their thoughts. Yes. And it reminds me of the movie that we saw, gosh, how many years ago? Julia. And she just wanted to start blogging, and as she tried every recipe in Julia Child's cookbook, and then she created an audience that started following her, and she put her bloopers down, she put her emotions in it and everything, and it just was her thoughts as she put that out there.
And the world reacted to what she put down there, and they loved it. And she sold, I don't know how many books, but an awful lot of them on that.
And a movie was made from it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, enough to get a movie made, so that's a lot too.
So I guess the question is being an influencer the one key to your success on social media? Is that something you really have to get past, that sphere of and being more confident in just putting your information out there and trusting in yourself?
Well, it is. The short answer is yes. The detailed answer is, when you start out, you're not going to be the influencer, but you are going to have influence on a few folks. So you may start out, and the first person that you get to like you, follow you, whatever, when in your messaging and on your blog, that's the seed. Now you have to water the seed so the seed will bring other seeds in.
So that's how you start building an audience then, is by being basically breaking through that barrier of the fear that you might have. You have to break through that in order to start building an audience to start following you, by putting information out there. And I've seen that as I followed so many people through the years and over the years, where they began and where they are now. And they just started writing for their audience, who their ideal client customer was.
Well, can I use you as an example? I mean, right now, I'm
afraid to say yes.
Well, tough. I mean that with love. On that, right now you're the social media queen. I mean, you're up there with the top 10 or 15 in the nation. Okay.
Well,
but I remember when you got started, you were afraid. What are people going to think? Am I good enough? You went through all the fear factors that were there. But you got the first one out the door. And then you got the next one. And, social media wasn't back in 98 in that area, but blogs were and websites were and those things. And you put it all together. And that's what everybody that succeeds has to go through. We're all born totally dependent on our mother.
That's getting deep.
Well, isn't it? Isn't it the truth?
Yeah.
So when you birth, male or female now, when you birth an opinion, when you birth putting something in writing, or you put a video out there, or you put an MP3 out there, when you start looking at that and you birth it, you're hanging on every little like, every little comment, everything that hangs on. And you're trying to figure out, how do I adjust? How do I change what I'm writing so I can ultimately someday have tens of thousands of people that are following me? And when you put your message out there, you move from there. Why do so many influential people put out books? And you're a published author. Okay, why do so many people put out books?
To get our message out there.
Yes, but now you have a whole book to focus on your message. So you can start from the beginning and fully express it to its logical conclusion. Mm-hmm. So, you do that, and that sounds really simple. I know I hear people saying, yeah, but Richard, on doing that. But that's the beginning, and that's where you got to start.
I was just going to ask, is there a secret tip, or is there, you I think you just hit the nail on the head, though. You just have to start somewhere. And if you're, it's having the confidence in yourself that you have value to share. And when you start sharing that value, and you understand first off who you want this message to resonate with, again, understanding who you want to attract, that will help you to compose more freely, as well as getting that information out there. And then more people will see it, read it. And even when people don't comment on it or click a like or share it, don't be misled. They're still watching.
Totally true. And we get hung up on that, especially in Facebook and LinkedIn and all those, where you're looking for likes and followers and all these other things that are happening. But if you go back on the analytics side of the site, tell me what you can see there.
Well, you can see your reach. You can see how far that one message, maybe you didn't have a lot of engagement on it, but, even one share, it's amazing what
that's the gold standard.
One share can provide for you as far as how many people have seen this come through their news feed. So there's a lot of information on the analytic on the back end of your social sites that you need to be taking a look at and understanding in more detail exactly how far of a reach you're getting with your information. But I would recommend, I know a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a month or so ago, we talked about the different features or components there on Facebook, with the profile, your page, and a group. And I would say groups on Facebook, groups on LinkedIn is a great place to start getting comfortable with sharing your thoughts by just entering into conversations and commenting on threads of conversation. That's how you start getting confident and more freely get your thoughts out there, and then that will then lead to you wanting to put out and maybe starting a conversation thread. Because I think that's where a lot of the fear factor is starting something and being afraid that, again, fears are, am I going to offend someone? Are they going to think this is stupid? Did I say it right? All these little things that creep up in our mind that really we don't need to focus on. We need to focus on our message.
Totally. I mean, that's when you're talking about posting, blogging, and all those things, it's all about your message. And getting the clarity on your message is a process on that. How many times did we fall down on our keister every time we tried to take a step as a baby? We learned to play sports whether baseball, football, soccer, it doesn't matter, as kids. Okay, how many times did you try to kick that soccer ball and actually miss the whole ball?
Exactly.
But that's what you do in the beginning, and that's perfect, because that's where you want to be, because that allows you to grow. That challenges you to be better, be stronger. And the same thing in social media, same thing in blogging. You build an audience. You hang around and you look what influential people were doing on putting that whole process together. It's a very simple process, but it's nerve-wracking.
Is there an actual difference, though, about between being an influencer and being influential?
Absolutely so.
Awesome.
Being an influencer is you're writing, you're doing your blogs, you're doing your videos, you're doing your Facebook Lives, and what happens in the middle of that, you are influencing people. And they're going to come back and watch your next one, listen to your next one. All these things happen throughout that whole process. But as that process goes on, and you're still doing it 3 months from now, you're still doing it 6 months from now, you're doing it a year from now, all of a sudden there's something that morphs in the middle of all this. You start out as that caterpillar. I love the butterfly example. You start out as a caterpillar, but when you come out of the cocoon, you're that magnificent, fully colored, rich butterfly on putting it together. And it's a metaphor for the process that we all go through. You got to be bad before you get good. Winston
Churchill, I think, says success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. So you have to continue.
Very well said, yeah.
And we can contest to that as well. We understand
100 times, yeah.
Because it is true. You may put a blog out there and you may not have a lot of comments, or maybe not a lot of people are seeing it. And then you put out another one and you're like, blown away with how many people actually resonated with, and they start adding comments and such on it. But I do know that you have to never stop. You have to continue and stay enthusiastic what you're doing, and knowing that you're passionate and you believe in the message that you want to share. And I really feel that that's where I took that turn in what I do. I know you mentioned it in the beginning. I was just like, first of all, and I run into this every time I'm training someone, is what do I say? How do I know what to say? And that's where you have to have that clarity in who you are, what your why is, who your client is, who you want to attract. There's so many other little pieces.
Think of it as a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
They all fit together. You just have to work to figure them out sometime.
I know it. It's like, we actually, a couple weeks ago, we did had a half-day seminar, a small group seminar with individuals working on their social media strategy. And it wasn't just sit down and, write out what you want to accomplish. We started with those pieces.
Yes.
Why do you do what you do? What motivates you? You have to understand all those little pieces, because they're so integral in making sure you have clarity in your message. And that will help you with determining how you can actually map out a strategy to accomplish what you want to have as your end goal. And you've got a workshop coming up here in the Brevard County area. It is a live workshop. It's not a webinar, but it is on branding.
Branding
so
you.
When is that, and why is that? Why would that be a good workshop to really get involved in, to understand how to become more of an influencer?
There are 1,000 and thousands of influences that pass us by every day. There's thousands of messages that come across every day. So the whole premise of what I'm doing is, how do you stand out in this crowded world? And there's a graphic that I really love that's on the internet. It's people all standing up at attention, feet down, head up, all looking great. And then there's one person that's standing on their head. Just think about that. Picture that for a moment.